we can start the recording. And welcome everyone who joined us today. I'm really happy about the today's session because, as you know,
one second, Maggie. Yeah. Manpreet, did you actually start the recording now?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Go on ahead, Maggie.
Okay. So I'm really happy about the presentation today because, as you know, our motto is more together, and we try to combine bringing people from the industry to give some advices and practical tips for us, but also we would like to encourage our community members to present what they are working on or what their interest is. And today this is the session. And Sean will present a very interesting topic, which will be non-technical, but data related, which means that he would like to talk about in a general or give a general overview about data cleaning and why, how to handle dirty data and how to clean data and why it is so essential to us. And as I said, he told me that this is not the technical. So I'm really curious what the presentation will be. It will be a PowerPoint presentation. I think Manpreet will have with the technical stuff. And at the end of the session, as usual, we will go for the Q&A session as well. So Sean, the floor is yours.
Awesome.
And please introduce yourself to us, because we would like to know your background, professional background, because you are with us for a long time, but we know a little bit about that one. So if you can present yourself as well. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, you could say I'm pretty much been using data for the last 20 years. Not directly related with data. I've just been before Christmas got promoted to data analyst, basically by somebody spotted my talents, which was completely unexpected, completely out of the blue. Yeah, amazing things have been happening ever since. So the reason why I chose this subject is literally because everyone uses data, whether you're a data scientist or an analyst or a data engineer, it doesn't matter. We all still use data. So I wanted today to have a fun, interactive, it might get loud, but it's going to be a rush. So we're going to load up the PowerPoint. So try and get a maximum settings for the full effect. But please do shout out as and when. Okay. Let me just try and rub the screen. All right. We're looking good. Okay. Let me get the screen up. If I can get it, bear with me. This thing's temperamental at times. All right. My goodness, bear with me. All right. Can everyone see the nice white screen? Yes. Fabulous. Here we go. Clean data. That's the presentation for today. Everyone see that nice and good? Awesome. Okay, let's start the ride going. So what is clean data? So I'm just going to jump on the audience now. What's your opinion? What is clean data? Kim, what do you reckon?
That clean data is data that is free of mistakes, free of non-entries, and making sure that the data that is in there is correctly put in there.
Awesome. Anyone else has got an opinion?
Yeah, I have an opinion. That
consistent
is
and trustworthy.
That ever exist in real world.
Awesome. Look at this feedback. This is awesome. Fantastic. Well, in my opinion, what I think clean data is ready for anything. Really. That's my opinion on it. Clean data is when it's perfect and when it's ready for anything. Okay, move on. Here's another question for you. Is data cleaning actually essential? What's your opinion? I'm going to throw a couple of questions at you for now. So what do you reckon? Kim's giving me the thumbs up. Come on, give me some feedback.
I think if you're looking for accuracy and truth, then you need clean data. It's essential.
Definitely. I agree.
Yeah,
And
and I
also,
think, if it's clean, then you can predict things better, I guess.
Definitely. Yes. And also, if you ask a data scientist or an analyst whether it's essential, just ask them how much time they spend cleaning the data. And I bet they get an answer something like this. From about 40 to 80% of their time is actually involving cleaning the data. And that's, in one sense, quite annoying, because a data scientist and analyst don't actually want to be cleaning data. We want to be building the models with the data. So I think, yes, it's essential. Okay, moving on. Oh, why did I forget that? Completely depends on the data set. So sometimes if it's a small amount of data, you don't really need to keep it that clean. But if it's 1 million real data or bigger, then yeah, you need it clean. Okay. So everyone uses data. I wanted to do a real small comparison between a data scientist and a data analyst. I'm not a data scientist, but I'm learning. I wouldn't even call myself a data analyst, but I tend to look at data from an analyst point of view. So I just wanted to highlight some of the things that the data scientist does and what a data analyst does. So data scientists, they love statistics and algorithms, right? Where an analyst tends to scan and analyze the data, scientist searches for patterns. Would you believe it? An analyst does the same. Coding, data scientist's best friend. We all love the coding, right? If I told you an analyst actually uses coding, surprising? Maybe. And of course, data scientists, the number one favorite, the machine learning, the artificial intelligence, and building those juicy predictive models. And to his analysts, create those wonderful visual reports. But as you notice, the data scientists and analysts, there isn't that much difference between them, really. They share this common practice of the coding and actually searching for patterns. So in my opinion, a data scientist or data analyst or data engineer, we all use data. We all use it the same kind of way. So cleaning data, we do it all the same to a certain degree. All right. So quick question to everyone. What types of dirty data can we find? Or should I say, what are the most common types of dirty data? What do you reckon, Jonathan?
What do I reckon? Misplaced data, duplicates, incorrect data types, and misassociation.
Awesome. Valerie, what do you reckon?
Well, I'm wondering too what the origin is of your data, where you're getting it from. If you're getting it from what is like a organized production environment, hopefully that data is going to be in better shape than if you're going out and just to the wilds and getting unstructured, unorganized data. So I think you have to look at both of those and judge where does your data originate from.
You're right. Definitely. I agree. Anyone else? No problem. Let's have a look, see what we got. So I kept it really simple, but these are, I tend to think are most of the common sorts. Duplicates, even formatting issues, that can give you a headache if you don't spot it. Incorrect data, missing data, data from multiple sources, like you just said, Valerie. And then too much data. And I say too much data because sometimes it can be too much noise and you need to just trim out the noise. And of course, poorly structured and duplications. Awesome. Okay. So the importance of working with clean data. What's your opinion to that? Does anyone have an opinion of the actual key importance thing of working with clean data?
Just to quote Scott Taylor, goodness in equals goodness out.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Yes, and it's also so if you're working with clean data, yeah, you got the garbage out. But if the data isn't correct, you're going to be making predictions that aren't correct in that sense, but you won't know it straight away.
Definitely. Definitely. Well said.
Sean, would it be okay to qualify what too much data is a little more in detail?
Okay. How about I'm going to take it from my point of view as an analyst. So the industry I actually work in the mining industry. So where I work in a nice, big, giant granite quarry, we're abstracting 6 million ton a year out of there. We're running a fleet of 100 ton dumper trucks, and I am getting that much data coming in everywhere. However, I wanted to see, I'm going to use an example here. I wanted to see how much tonnage the trucks were hauling and their average load time. So the way I did that was I was actually downloading all the GPS data from the trucks, collecting all the data, compiling it all together. And I was getting that much data. It was giving me from how much the trucks were carrying, the loading times, the fuel usage, and it was absolutely crazy. It was telling me everything that the operator was doing. I wasn't interested in any of that. All I wanted was the load times, the haul times, and the capacity that it was carrying. So what I mean by too much data is all the other stuff is just noise. All I wanted was just this simple bit of data. So what I did was you could filter it out. But to me, I made it more manageable and just literally slice and dice the data that I wanted only. And
so
that's what
oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I just mean, like, why make it difficult? Just keep it simple. If you can keep your data smaller, more manageable, it's a lot less likely you're going to make an error with the data. And that's my opinion about too much data sometimes can cause you problems. Sometimes it's just easier just to keep it simple and less noise. If that answers your question, Tom.
Absolutely. So it's like if in the modeling realm,
yes,
you've decided I don't need all these that I've called my feature set. I just need this many features to do a good prediction.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly that.
But
all right.
Basically, we can also say that it is irrelevant data. So you have to focus on what you want, where you want to get, what outcome you are interested in, and all the irrelevant features and columns and rows you have to cut, or you have to, if it's about your company, you have to educate the people to have a proper data management, or create a template to use, because obviously different departments have different views and different data, and then put everything on a common page, basically. From an analyst point of view, what you really want to know, because these are regular questions most of the time. So it is nice to have it structured in a way that you can easily work with it and not with the entire data set, I guess.
Yeah, spot on. Exactly that. Exactly.
In other words, Sean, it'd be like, well, for this analysis, I only need these columns.
Yes.
But for another analysis, some of the columns I threw out may be very important.
Yes, indeed. Yes, definitely that. Okay. So, as Jonathan rightly said, improve data quality. So, it also reduces the cost and time. The cleaner the data, the faster you can process the data. And therefore, it reduces your costs of spending all the time and effort. You can spend your resources on something else. prevent errors. Like you said, Jonathan, the more quality the data, the less chances of errors. And also, sometimes it's valuable to actually remove the old data, because sometimes the old data can be wrong. You may have updated it with something new. And if you don't keep on top of your data, you could be analyzing the wrong data. That's my opinion. Okay, I got some nice.
Sorry to
Sure.
jump in there. I totally agree with that. The last point there as well, with the age of data. How relevant is it? Because yeah, if you're looking, what did you do if your data and you didn't have that, how old your data set was, and you're analyzing data, your trucks could have had an increased capacity. So then later on, you calculate them wrong.
Yes, definitely that, 100%. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some real simple data, some dirty data. So looking at this is a prime example of a real simple but dirty data. Just looking at that, can you see what the common flaw is with this data?
One that bugs me right away is the unit price having the commas in it sometimes.
That's one good thing, indeed.
The duplicate rows.
Well done.
Yeah, and it's not tabular.
Exactly. But I wasn't quite that precise, Jonathan. I kept it nice and simple. I just kept it to duplications. All right. How about data set number 2? Check out this dirty data.
It is not structured in the correct column.
Well done.
So address, telephone number is under the name column.
Well done. Spot on. It's been poorly constructed. So we're going to have to spend a bit of time grabbing that data and shifting it across. Simple, but it can cause a lot of headaches when you're trying to analyze these things.
I have a question, Sean. For this kind of data, right? This one you have to manually separate it by hand, correct? Or is that a better way of doing it?
Okay, you can do it by hand, or myself. I would, from my experience, I would grab this in Excel, and then I could chuck it in Power Query, and I could just filter a few things around. Or you could use a go-to function where you're selecting the addresses, and then you can pretty much grab them and move them into another row. So yeah, it's a bit of hands-on. It is no code involved with this. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a problem with. I have a data set I'm working on, which is exactly like this, and I'm doing it by hand. It's really painful. So I'm just wondering if there's a faster way of doing it, because it's really driving me nuts. Okay, but thank you.
Jaya, do they have individual cells for all the information, or is all of the information put into one cell?
All the information is in one single cell, and I'm breaking it down by phone number, by name, by address, and it's just like, it's very painful. I just don't know if there's a faster way of breaking it all down, like if that's a tool out there that does break it all down. So right now I'm manually like creating each column one by one. So yeah.
You could create a CSV. Yeah, you could create a CSV.
Yes.
You know, basically put a comma between all of the different elements, and then create a CSV, and then you can sort it really quickly.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll get back to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
do that. Yeah. Good idea, Kim.
Sean, since we're at the beginning of the data age and all the terminology still in flux,
yes,
I'd like you and I to lead a charge to kind of call this type of data specifically sinful data.
Sinful data.
This is very sinful, in my opinion.
Hang on, that leads to all sorts of discipline and punishment. I don't know.
We got the best to come.
I can imagine the church lady looking at this and going, well, that's just sinful.
Very true. All right. Data set number 3. What's wrong with this data?
There's definitely some missing values.
Payment dates is not a date type.
Yes. There's actually a multiple values, but I'll keep it nice and simple. The data is incomplete and missing. But you're right there, Magdi. The date is actually in the wrong format. The date is correct, but it's been put in number format and not in date format.
Yeah.
Obviously, you notice that straight away. You must know the data. You must know, looking at those numbers, you knew for what those dates. Okay, last but not least, what kind of simple data is this, Tom?
You're on mute.
He's on mute.
I was looking up a dirty example. Okay, let me try here. Okay. Well, gosh, it's in an email. So
yes.
This is the kind of crap I deal with, that I'm trying
Yes.
to automate my real job. It's not structured at all.
Perfect. Absolute perfect. Completely unstructured. So I'd say unconstructed. And this is anyone who manages data or handles data. This is the number one nightmare, because somebody's trying to give you reports and they expect to hand you things like this day in, day out, and you're supposed to keep track of everything. I think it's impossible. I keep telling them, why don't you just put it in a box? It makes things a lot easier. Chuck it in Excel or whatever. Just keep it structured, nice and easy. All right, moving on. So the methods of data cleaning. Now, let's look at the first one. We call it the interactive, otherwise known as data wrangling. In my opinion, I just think it's more like, just like the picture, the cowboy grabbing hold of trying to grab hold of the horse and capture it. I feel the same way about the data. Literally, you grab that data and you sort it out. And that's my opinion to data wrangling. It literally is hands-on, it's fully interactive, and you do what you have to do with it.
Excuse me, Chantal, do you know where that word came, why that word wrangling was used? Because I have such a hard time understanding who came up with that. It doesn't seem to fit.
Actually, I'll be fair with you. I'm not even sure myself. It's just a common terminology, unless anyone else knows different. Let's say, Tom, do you know anything about this, being in the data world?
Someone watched too many cowboy western movies.
Yeah, it's
definitely.
It was probably David Langer and I, us Western data scientists. Ben Taylor, David Langer. Probably, I don't know if you can count someone living in Vancouver, British Columbia as someone that would come up with that, like George Farrakhan. But all of us Western types. It made total sense to me, Val. I could see why to a New Yorker they'd be like, what?
What? Hey, we wrangle all the time.
Oh my God, we're starting something else.
Okay, but wait, check this out. So I looked it up. I asked Google, because that's what we do nowadays. So data wrangling was first mentioned by Donald Klein during the NASA NOAA Cold Lands Processes experiment. So it is actually,
really?
Yes, it is from a long time ago. And he was probably from the South.
Probably a cowboy. All right. Okay, the last one. Batch processing, otherwise known as scripting. For all the data scientists out there, you know this very, very well. So I'm going to keep this really brief, but from my understanding, it's more like you have random sets of data or large sets of data everywhere. You bunch them together in batches of 10, for example. You run it through some code, you clean it all up, and it looks nice and clean, like the filing cabinet that you can see on that picture there. I'll keep it really simple like that. If anyone would like to add to it, please feel free. All right, moving on. Okay, let's clean some data. We're going to get our hands on. We're going to get some data clean. Okay, I'm going to make some raw data appear, and then we're going to clean it. And then I'll tell you a bit more of a story about the data. All right, look at that raw data. Makes no sense, right? Of course not. Okay, let's clean this data up. Let's chuck it in the washing machine, get it nice and clean. I'm not going to tell you how I clean the data. It's just going to magically happen. Voila, amazing, right? All right. So this data here, last week I actually went to the zoo. Actually, I just made it up, but I'm going to roll with it anyway. Okay, last week I went to the zoo and I was curious of what the best food and the favorite food of a monkey is. So would you believe it? I actually went up to the monkey and had a chat and said, Mr. Monkey, I'm curious. The rumor has it your favorite food's a banana. And he says, you're crazy. It's actually a chicken. And I was like, really? All right, interesting. And he says, if you don't believe me, have a word with the elephant. The elephant's favorite food is really, really peculiar. But go check him. Tell me what you think. So I went up to the elephant and I said to him, Mr. Elephant, I said, okay, the monkey's told me to come and see you because I'm on the influence thinking that your favorite food is actually peanuts. And he says, are you crazy? I love a cake. Cake is my favorite food of all. And I'm like, Maisie, really? He says, yes. Nice big chocolate cake is my #1 favorite. Okay, amazing. So I went around, asked a few more animals, as you can see, and I collected the data down. But I scribbled down the data, and then basically we've put it all into order. Now, the point to this is I managed to clean some data up and collect the data by asking the right questions. And I think that's really important when you come into clean up data, is asking the right questions to get that data out to the data set. Because if somebody says to you, here's a pile of data, tell me what you see, you don't always know what you're looking at. You need to ask the right questions to help you find the answer, or at least help guide you to the answer. So the point of this really is just when you come to clean data, don't forget to ask the questions as well. Moving along.
One there also.
Yes.
That just to add on to that, I think also
Yes.
one point there. Don't make assumptions because everyone assumes if they're a banana is the 8th favorite fruit, but after research, your own research, you found out that it was the chicken. So it's also a lesson here. Don't keep those assumptions to guide you either.
Spot on. Yeah, bang on there. All right. So the problems with dirty data. Okay. Look at that cute little car. It's for sale. You want to buy it, right? Look at it. It's so nice. Be a nice, useful thing for the family. Come on, buy it. Looks perfect, right? All right, look again. That's the other side of the car. Same as buying a second-hand car. It's like looking at data. When you first see a data set, it can look perfect. Just when you glance your eyes over it, you think that data is absolutely spot on. It's only when you take a good close look at that data, that's when you start spotting these little things, such as errors, corruption, why it's been copied and pasted over, or has it been installed? It's even incomplete. Or as we said earlier, it's out of date. Or we miss the absolute obvious things of all, duplications. Now, my point to this is literally just because data looks clean, don't assume that it's going to be clean. So just always, when you're looking at data, validate it. Just check it the best way you can. And it's just a mere reminder. It's the simplest things that normally causes the big problem. And if you don't validate your data, you normally miss those easy things. All right.
So I'm waiting for Rowan Atkinson to wave his hand out.
I was tempted, but I thought I got to keep it simple.
I have to point out something. He's actually a very good race car driver.
He is. He is.
And
he's very
he actually
good.
came out on top of racing by time trial many other celebrities.
He's good. Rowan Atkinson is very, very good. Keen, passionate driver as well. Very, very good. Okay, benefits from clean data. Okay, I'm going to keep it nice and easy. Happy stakeholders. Clean data, you're going to get happy stakeholders. Seriously. You're going to give them better results. You're going to keep them happy. Happier employees. And when I say that, you give a data scientist some clean data, they'll be your best friend for life. You get them dirty data, they're going to give you hell. Simple as that. Increase productivity. Of course, the faster your data or the cleaner your data is coming through, you're going to process that data a lot faster. Seriously, let's get it through, get it gone. What's next? Optimize the business. The cleaner the data, let's just optimize that business. Let's save money. Let's get it through it faster. Happy days. And of course, the more accurate the data, we can make better decisions. And with better decisions, you're going to make a difference. You're going to potentially save the business a lot of money, or you know when to invest or save. Excuse me. And would you believe it? Clean data can actually save lives. Now, when people say, how can it save lives? Then picture it like, imagine if you're working in the health industry and you're studying medicines, especially now with COVID and everything else like that, it's becoming more under control. It's only the data that's actually helped us along the way. Or let's talk about that cute little car that was trying to sell. The automotive business, when they're developing those safety features for your car, it's all done by data. And if it wasn't for that data coming through, we won't be saving the lives that we are today.
You know, Sean, I just want to chime in. I put something in the chat about I have this friend inside UL that's great about sharing data-based conspiracy theories. But it's just so sad, the travesty of data collection around COVID.
Yes.
And all of it was motivated by, I think a lot that we need to do to improve data literacy is to point out when you use your special interest to fake data entry, it hurts everyone.
Definitely.
And by the way, I am not a hater of Chinese because I have 2 Chinese children. Please, I love the Chinese people, but I hope the Chinese government's listening. Would you stop lying about your COVID data? It's hurting all of us. You know, it's stuff like that. And that's just one piece. Your point about saving lives, well taken.
Yes, yes. It's like, how to say, a computer will never lie to you. It's only the data you feed it.
Exactly.
And that's my opinion. All right. Well, I want to show you this. This is my feelings towards data. Sometimes I love data. Sometimes I laugh at data. Sometimes I just want to cry with data. So I just wanted to share these emotions. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Sean. This was really, really good. And you got to the point. So it was really nice to see the summary of the essentials of cleaning data.
Awesome. Any questions?
Can I start with?
Go for it.
Just hearing your story, I'm just curious, what kind of data set or data caused you the biggest headache and why?
Good question.
In terms of dirty data.
Well, I find we had to move on to, I had to create the tools to actually create the data. So I had to train guys that didn't know anything about a computer or how to log data correctly. So I had to create something really simple for an Excel spreadsheet, make it look like that it was actually almost like an app. And this is a spreadsheet we're talking about here, but I'm having to make it look like an app to make it friendly for guys that can't operate computers. And then what I found was, it was actually the formatting issues. was I set things up in a certain way and say, like when you, for example, Excel, and you put it into a time format. And as you know, with you put your time format in, you do a couple of zeros, and then you have to put your colon and add more zeros. This to the guys was absolute a nightmare because they couldn't understand that they had to put the colon in between the numbers. And all they kept doing was just typing in any number. And to me, that simple thing was causing me an absolute headache, because when you're looking at 12 months worth of data and all the time formats wrong, it just seriously, it caused absolute nightmare. It did. This simple little bug is what caused the biggest headache. And after months of pain, I managed to get it sorted in the end. And that's it, really. Seriously, that's the simplest thing was what caused the biggest problem.
Nice. Tom has a question.
All right.
Yeah, real quick. So Sean, thanks for your honesty about encountering loads of dirty data. So do you find yourself in a constant habit of, okay, I'm going to automate a fix to that, and that's one of my tools that I keep in my toolkit, and you keep growing these tools, but you still find that, oh, now I've got a new data set. Oh, I can leverage from that code, but it's not exactly the same. I have to keep refining it. Do you find that a lot? Okay, I was just curious.
You're right. I tend to use more. I use a lot of Excel, and I create these tools. And exactly that, Tom. It's like evolution. You have to evolve it, and also the more time you spend with the data, the more you learn about it, and the more you can just refine of get that data out more better. And then, of course, you think about other things that you could also record down or collect. And then you think, how do I add all that together? And I think sometimes it can give you a really big headache. Sometimes we tend to get too complex. And I think sometimes you just have to take 5 and just keep it simple. That's my motto. I tend to keep it simple. So yeah, you're right, Tom.
Okay, Jonathan, you're next.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. So who have you been studying? Joseph or Scott or the Data Ninja? You kind of as much energy as they do when you was giving the presentation. So I'm wondering if you've been giving some study to them. But no, yeah, presentation was really great. It was engaging, informative at the same time. And the question is this presentation something that you've shared internally as well, or is it something just for this? And if you do presentations internally, do you have the same sort of energy and flow with this small humor along the way? And if you do, how do you find that engages stakeholders or that you communicate with?
First of all, it was the premiere edition to the family first. So this is the first time for the family. So yes, you're all number one. You get the first view. Yeah, I find with stakeholders, there's a level. Like I deal with multiple levels. So like the guys on, let's say the guy's actually doing the job. The guy's doing the job. You can't talk down to them. You have to talk with them, and you have to like talk their language. You know what I mean? So you have to go there with a lot of energy, a lot of spirit, even crack a few jokes at them as well, and then be ready to expect a bit of banter back towards you. And towards the senior stakeholders, I find that don't be too cold, because at the end of the day, they're only human. You can crack a joke to them, or just be a bit more energetic towards them. As long as you're straight, direct, and to the point. Like in the past, I was one of these that like, you put me in a presentation and I would just tell you the results. Okay, this week's performance is 65%. Thank you, job done. I will get me out of here. And it's only as a period of time, undergoing some wonderful training that I've had. I feel more comfortable, and I spend a bit more time to interact with them. And I think that's the best way to get the stakeholders' attention. Just don't report. Just don't give them the exact answer what they're looking for straight away. Build a tiny bit of a story towards it. Get their attention. It's like, for example, a few weeks ago, we was given a performance review of how the mine was doing, and I was like second on the list. The guy before me was delivering bad news. Seriously, bad news. And then that put the stakeholders in a bad mood. And when they're in a bad mood and you're next, you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to take it out on me. So I made a joke of it and said, okay, we've heard some bad news. My news isn't so bad. So that's a plus side. And then I went in and told them what they needed to know. And to be fair, they smiled about it. They changed their attitude, if you know what I mean. And I think that's the way to be. It's just be yourself, and don't worry about them. They're only humans. Does that answer your question, Jonathan?
Pretty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Kim, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So my question is, when you have data that has a number of problems, you've been basically given an assignment to take in lots and lots of different data. You have to clean it. You have a week to do your assignment. You know from experience, it's going to take at least 5 of those 7 days to clean that data. Do you go back to the stakeholders and go, I need more time to work with this data? Or do you try and find a solution by, mixing your programming with the data and trying to clean it up first, and then explaining, hey, just so you know, I have to do all of this first. Any advice on that would be great. Thanks.
No problem. Oh, good question. All right. I'll give you my opinion. I would try for the first 3 days or so by myself and see how it's going. And after the first 3 days, you get the feel of how it's going. So if you know for what that you are running low on time, I'll go back to the stakeholders and say, okay, you want this data at this time? No problem. I can get you that. But if you want it cleaner, you want better results, I'm going to need more time. And if they say no can do, then say, okay, I can get you the data, but it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we did was we went back and said, we're not going to do all the data. We're going to focus in only on this test set and on this situation, because there was no way to clean everything and to address everything. And so we pushed back by saying, look, you're going to have to take a segment of this, and we're going to have to see what happens with this segment, and then we'll be able to determine what happens thereafter.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, ask the stakeholder what their priorities are. Good point. Yeah, I always just say to them, if you want something quick, then expect a lousy job. Seriously, I just tell them straight. Say, just like, if you want it quick, you're going to get a lousy job. You give me the time and I can give you some serious data. The more time you give me, the more dangerous I am with this data. And that's how a data analyst should be. It's like, or a scientist or whoever. If the more time they give you, the better results you can deliver. And that's what I think.
I have a question. Is it really only about time? I mean, do you initiate? No. Do you start or come back with your initiative that how they can manage data in a better way? That then you can, as a next step, can save time on it. Do you give some tips to them? Do you educate your stakeholders that how can this be done better in the first phase or the pre-phase, let's say?
Definitely that. Yeah, you're spot on. So what I do is I'm and a few of us, we're learning to collect data more efficiently as well as more effectively. So, for example, when I'm downloading the GPS data from the machines, and because the way it comes down is not very suitable, I've created a tool where I can run it through Power Query, and literally it just cleans it up, compiles it, and puts it all in one place. And that saved a phenomenal amount of time. Where in the past, the previous stakeholders were literally copy and pasting them across one by one. And it was taking somebody like 3 days to do this. It's just like, let me just create a tool and we can just do it in 5 seconds. And they're like, really? You can do that? Well, yeah. And that's what I found is like, as I said before, it's like evolution. The more you learn about the data and how you're handling it, the more you tend to optimize the way you're managing your data and handling it. And if you can make tools to speed up the process, I think that's an awesome thing to do. Really do.
Yeah, but this is also relating to knowing your client, basically. So
Definitely.
Even if it's internally your stakeholders, because
Definitely.
if you realize that how they are collecting and handling and keep tracking the data,
yes,
and then you realize that it is something you can improve with a totally different tool, or you
Definitely.
just show them that, okay, this
yes.
you can use and it takes much less time. So it
Yes.
is very important that the communication part, I mean, here,
Definitely.
that you get, how they are processing the data or gathering the data and what they burdens are, for example, from your perspective, obviously, to get the data to you, what make your life easier. And if you have this very very open communication and you know what they are expecting from you, so both ways you can help each other.
Definitely. I just find that you have to be very careful when you're trying to tell a stakeholder the way they're managing the data isn't quite right. They can take personal offense if you say it wrong. Trust me, the amount of times I've been shouted out in office, I've learned the hard way, trust me. It's only when you show it to them. If you show it to them in the right way, you get much better feedback. But yeah, when you say I can do that faster than you, they don't take kindly to it. Trust me, like miners, they don't take it lightly.
It's managing the change, basically. So you have to bring up your arguments to make
they don't like change.
Realize exactly, that it makes sense to change their routine and habits, basically.
Especially when they've been doing it for the last 20 years, saying, no, it's been perfect like this.
Yeah, it worked so far. It will work in the future. We just stuck
definitely
with it.
Yes.
Kim, you wanted to add something.
Go ahead, go to Jaya.
Okay, the next one, actually, it was Tom. You wanted to add something, right?
Just real quick, Sean, I wondered if this squares with your experience. So, and by the way, this was actually ingrained, like I didn't learn to practice it well until our family was talking about it with interviewing. And it hit me really hard. Oh, Tom, you suck at that. Why don't you finally remember all the examples you've seen where this is important? And I actually diligently practice it now inside UL. It's just to remain calm. You go to those stakeholders and you say, hey, this is what's going on. And, I'm just doing everything I can do. And I think the stakeholder interaction or your interaction with your leaders or your whatever you want to call them, just staying calm and giving the honest truth. And don't, what I had to learn too was quit apologizing for not being done yet. It's not your fault. It's just hard work. And it took me forever to learn that. That's why I love that we have our family and we can help each other with this. But I could say a lot more. I just wanted to ask you, when you're talking to these stakeholders, do you see a big difference between when you act nervous or when you stay calm?
Yes, I did. First of all, when I was getting to know the stakeholders, because at the time it's like, I'm not used to talking to people this high up in the business. So yeah, I was always nervous. It's over a period of time and more training I had that I learned that there's no such thing as a stupid question. Even if it sounds stupid, just ask it. That's what I learned. Just be yourself, honest, straight up. And if you have a different opinion, don't be scared to speak up. They might not like it, but they have more respect and appreciate that you're being honest with them. And I think that's key for you to gain the stakeholders' trust and their respect. You be honest and straight up to them, tell them as it is, and they'll help you any way possible. And yeah, I think that's it, really. Definitely.
Okay, and I really like your point that you just think about them as a human being. So they are also
Definitely.
humans, and,
Yeah.
and you just approach that they can be in bad mood, good mood, but you can have an impact on them. So it is
Yes.
really up to you how you deliver your message, in what way, and
Yes.
and affect their mood as well in that respect. Okay,
Definitely.
Kim, would you like to add something? You're on mute.
Gaia still hasn't spoken.
I first.
Yeah. Okay. So Jaya.
Yeah, so I have a question for Sean. Sean, you said you work in the trucking industry, right? I'm just kind of curious, what kind of data do you see or I mean, I'm not familiar with this trucking industry or the transportation. Like,
Okay.
what do you analyze? Like, what do you see?
So I'm actually more in the mining business.
Mhm.
So we can calculate a lot of data, such, for example, we're in a hard rock quarry, so we have to blow rock, we have to blast the rock out under controlled explosives. So we have to study where the stone's going to land and use the correct volume of explosives. And that's a lot of measurements in that. So we calculate data there. Then we have the equipment that actually loads onto the back of the trucks, and the trucks then delivers it to the crusher. And that's like, I'd say that's about a 4-mile run. So it's quite a good distance. It's about a 30-minute round trip. And when you're running pieces of equipment like this, as I said, we've got about 20 trucks in the quarry that I look after. It's big business. Like each truck's £1 million each. So you're running like 30 million pounds worth of equipment. And then you take it to the crusher, and the crusher is probably about 50 million pounds. And that's supposed to be crushing at a certain pace all day, every day. So we're watching how that's performing. And then we have to keep an eye on what kind of products we're producing. So we're keeping an eye on that data. And then you move on to the processing, and that's again crushing more, producing more products. And we have the outgoing on the sales. And then we're watching that stone all the way to the client.
All this is being recorded by some kind of machine or something like that?
This is getting multiple sets of data from everywhere. There's data coming in here, there, and everywhere. So I've got it more exposed on the production side, and then just getting more into the financial side. So I can now learning to combine the finance and the production together. And then I can see how much it's costing to actually produce it, blast it, sell it to the customer, work out what profit we're making. And then that will expand then to sales. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the amount of data we have is it's too much to manage, to be fair. Like, I handle my little piece, but the business is like all across the UK. So the data sets that's coming in is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And
so how do you select what you want?
I go by what the stakeholder wants.
Gotcha.
So you have your you have your excellence team, then you have your financial analysts, you have your performance analysts. And I to be fair, I got put in a nice unique position. So I'm working based in one mine, but I'm working with the senior stakeholders that actually own the business. And I'm getting exposed to quite a lot of data sets here and everywhere. So it's pretty much, I got my dream shot really. It's like data overload. And there's some data I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't even know what it is. It's just like, I need a lesson of what I'm looking at. I don't know what I'm looking at. But the more I'm learning, yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing. But yeah, a lot of data everywhere. It's surprising how much data you actually keep track of. It's like yourself, you go to the supermarket, you go buy food, you check out the prices. It's all data.
Cool,
Crazy.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and Kim has left because she was.
Oh my goodness, we lost
Okay.
Kim.
Yeah, she was the next one. But Gio, you have
I have a
raised hand.
question. Thank you, Magdi. Okay, Sean, what is the most challenging part of data cleaning?
Oh, good question, Giovanna. Okay, the most challenging part is actually learning the data first. Like somebody says to you, clean up the data. And if you're not familiar with the data or you don't know the data, you haven't got a clue where to go. So I find that's the biggest headache ever because sometimes even the stakeholders don't know the data. So if they don't know the data, but they expect you to know the data, how can you do it? And it's only when you realize where the data's come from, and then you have to chase the origin of where the data's come from and find out who actually created the data. And that was my biggest headache at the start, was learning to ask more questions and be more curious of where the data's come from. And with that curiosity has helped me develop more and more curiosity to ask more questions, to really understand what the data is about. And when you understand the data, magical things can happen.
So it's like going to the zoo and asking Mr. Monkey and Mr. Elephant.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Just find out who they are and ask the questions. Just yes, and find out for yourself. Yeah, spot
Thank
on
you,
there.
Sean.
Welcome.
I know that this is not technical. This was not a technical presentation, but I cannot avoid asking this question: what tools do you use for analyzing your data and cleaning your data in your work? Just to have an impression.
Okay. To be fair, because of the company's security is really tight, I am only limited mainly to Excel. So everything I do within the business is if it's downloading data from SAP or somewhere like that, or CSV files from GPS files, I tend to put it all into Excel. I work with Power Query a hell of a lot. I love Power Query. Power Query is just like a godsend. And it's really simplified compared to, like, I'm learning some coding, and I find it's hard work because I don't understand the language yet, where I can just throw it straight into Power Query and then go, okay, separate this, change this, do that. And most of my analyst work is mainly in Excel and Power Query. Yes. Keep it simple.
Okay. But do you have an ambition to learn something else or to add to this tool?
Definitely.
Just for you to grow, basically.
Definitely, yeah, because I feel at the minute I'm limited for now. Like I'm learning SQL. I plan to learn Python. I want to learn Tableau for more visual. Like Excel, I use a lot of visual stuff in Excel. Probably I'm trying to get better than Power BI. I can't quite get the quality as Power BI. That's another thing on the list. But my stakeholders don't use Power BI or Tableau. So I'm having to use the absolute best I can with Excel. And in worst case scenario, I actually have to chuck it out to PowerPoint just so it's nice and clear for them. Yeah, which is a nightmare. It's a no-no really, but you just have to do what you do to keep those stakeholders happy. So yeah, I've got a long list of things that I want to learn. It's the list is endless really. I'm even keen to look into like the likes of R as well, which I'm curious about, but I don't know anything enough about it yet. So yeah, I've got lots to learn.
Yeah, I think Dave Langer will be very happy to hear that you are do your utmost to use Excel for business, because that was his starting point, and then move to the other programming languages. And I think this is the place for the teaser as well, that we will come up with in the future, in the close future, with presentation about SQL and Tableau and Power BI by our family members. So just stay tuned, because we also like to show some alternative tools next to Python and other stuff. And tell me, you had a question, right?
I did, and I've been listening carefully to all these great answers, and I might have forgotten my question. I think I did, so that's okay.
Then I will jump to the next one, and then you have time to recall your question. So Nosy is the next one.
Hi. Sorry, I was on mute.
Hello there.
Hi.
How are you doing, everybody? Sorry, I wasn't around last week. Sean, I was just listening to you and talking about, being constrained to using Excel because the stakeholders do not use any of the tools you might want to use. I mean, I've used Excel extensively to do a lot of things, and I can see, you're happy to progress to other tools. They are not using those tools. Is it because it's just something they don't do? Or, wouldn't you be able to sell a different tool, for instance? Because it's a very expensive business you're working in. And for all the goods Excel does and for all the uses it does, I mean, I have used it at advanced level, but I do speak about some of the pitfalls. I'm sure you know them too well. So is it that the business is resistant to change generally, or is it just that there's no great push to move away from that platform?
I think that's probably what it is. The business is like it's quite protective of its data. Like there's projects I'm working on that I love to show everyone, but I'm not allowed. It's just they really restrict it. They tend to work a lot with SAP. They tend to try and keep all the data in that if they can, which I think SAP's okay, but it's non-visual, and it's an absolute pig to work with. It's a nightmare, isn't it? And it's just
but you have plugins that work very well with SAP.
Yes,
and native visualizations for SAP.
There is.
And I do understand their security consciousness, but
yes,
some of those tools, your data doesn't really leave your domain. Yeah.
Yes, true. But I think the reason why they stick to Excel is because everyone knows it.
I get that, but I'm only sort of encouraging you because you could be that evangelist of change. As I said, I've used Excel extensively, but in using it, I do know the limitations, and I think I have been successful in winning organizations away from Excel and onto more robust platforms. Especially when you start building, very intricate, cleansing tools and all of that, then you want a situation where what you do is not sort of subject to the whims of the cells in Excel. You're in the UK with me. Remember what happened to the track and trace data. So things like that happen. And whenever a very expensive project is being done on Excel, my first question is always, who are the data people there? Because I think to myself, it's your job to educate them, to win them over, to convince them that these tools are actually better and as easy to learn as Excel. In fact, some of them model themselves after Excel. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's
because
true.
the danger of, once you start exporting things to Excel, that is where silos come into the business. And while you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing a very good job from what you've said, it's very easy for the organizations to have silos of data. And with time, it becomes really difficult to manage it, and you would then not have, any view of the truth.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, that's just my contribution. And I think
you're
there. You're there for a reason, and I think you can be that influencer. Yeah. So get all your learning. Dave on data, he's doing an amazing job, as the others have said about. You've got YouTube channel. Since you're very good in Excel, learning SQL is a breeze. Moving on to Python is very easy because you've got the right thinking and the right way to think. And a number of us are, we have all sorts of expertise, so you can ask questions basically, on your journey. But yeah, that was my contribution. Well done.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I fully agree with Nosy. So
Definitely.
I think you can use you can use this as a chance. So once you dive into a tool and you get enthusiastic about it, and then you create your story with that tool and make a visualization for the stakeholders and make them feel that, wow, then you have then you can come up with that okay, I made this and I can make a much better one, or a different, I mean an awesome one next time, but I need this tool. And what if we just invest in that tool, like Tableau, for example? And it is they can have, as a company, they can have their own server there. So it is from their concerns, this might be a solution, or other tools as well. So obviously they have to look into that. But this is a chance for you as well to make them aware that how they can improve to get data, or and then you come up with facts like they can reduce cost, they can reduce time, they can have a better outcome, so they can make a better strategic decision. Then you have them, or you might have them. So I agree what Moses said. So they not necessarily have to stick to Excel. So you can be.
Sorry if I might just add as well. Even though you talk about security being their main concern, you can actually exploit that concern to get them off Excel, because Excel is one of the most vulnerable software around. Because once you download something into Excel, there is no change management on Excel. I can take a copy of it and I can do anything. I can make changes there and nobody will be any wiser, that I've made changes. I can delete, and so you can actually exploit that. We're family, and in my time, I've been able to get big organizations away from specific software, and there are ways to go about it. And what she said is absolutely spot on. Do a little bit of things on the side to wow them, and then you've got it. Especially a lot of these tools are a lot easier than Excel, actually. But yeah, well done again. Thank you. And I will now stop talking.
And as you said, your company has a tremendous amount of data, and Excel has limitations, and you can point it out that others are much better in that case. And it is just be the facilitator. So take your time, obviously, to learn and deep into to the tools what you like, or you can bring a better solution for the company. But then just speak up. Why not? Definitely. You cannot lose anything. Okay, the next one is Jonathan, I think.
Thank you. Just some here and some bits there. And so did you say you use SAP and you export it?
Myself personally, I don't use it that much, to be fair.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm a novice on it, to be fair. Okay. I tend to get given the leftovers.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, a great addition is SAP Business Objects to SAP. Okay. And if you have a great data warehouse and data engineering team, you can really extract really well into business objects, and you can then do your own queries into get your own data generated from the queries from within SAP and bring them. You can download that and share that raw data as yourself. You can then manipulate it. You can also directly link your interface with Tableau, Power BI, even Excel into SAP, so you can extract directly as a point. And another one that I quite often work with, in SAP as well. There's a module where you can create info sets. And those info sets, it kind of brings the elements of SQL together, where you can get your tables, create your relationships to define your own data set.
Yeah.
And then you can actually connect live into that info set. Cool, yeah. And then that info set will then give you a live feed directly from SAP. It's not wouldn't then be a historic extraction and stored in silos. The info set you extract, and it gives you a live feed. So you have then near real-time data using info sets from SAP.
Interesting. You got me
Jonathan, I didn't want to go there because I wondered why they wouldn't use business objects and all the, the info. I just held back from saying. That's why I said there are things native to SAP which they ought to use, because I wouldn't know exactly what SAP they are using and how they are using it. Do you get what I'm saying? Because sometimes maybe they've not set it up in the way we would expect it set up. That's why I didn't go into the detail of what you can use with it.
But there's some immediate tips for Sean. But on another note, I do need to drop off now, but I just wanted to share with you guys. We would really like that if you can make it to the Tech Time chats, whether it's on a Wednesday or the Saturday. But if the times are not suitable, we can re-poll the times to get more of you guys participating in it. It's great value for everybody. We have some great discussions there, but having more of you and hearing from different perspectives or hearing your challenges that we can help with, then please do, if you have the time, to join that. And if you think, okay, the time at the moment is not suitable, we can poll it again to see if we can have some flexibility there.
Please, could you repost the times in the Slack channel?
Yes.
I'm not sure I know the times there.
Yeah. And again, thank you very much, Sean. Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Jonathan.
Bye, Jonathan. Bye.
The tech chat times are stored in the important links channel, just so y'all know.
Okay. Amazing presentation, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye.